Good morning to all. In today's class, we will discuss abstract methods and abstract classes. These two concepts are very important. Okay. So here in Java, we have two important concepts. They are abstract methods and the another one is abstract classes. These two concepts are very important. Now in this class, I will explain about these two concepts. That is abstract methods and abstract classes. Okay. Now we will discuss about the methods in Java. Here in methods we have two types of methods. They are concrete methods and abstract methods. Now we will see what is the difference between these two types of methods and why two methods are required in Java. Okay, so there is no concept of abstract methods in C language. Only in Java language we have the concept of abstract methods. Okay, now I will explain the differences between concrete methods and abstract methods. So concrete methods means normal methods. Already you know how to write methods now. What is the syntax for method? You know syntax for method is return type, okay, method name and parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, these parameters are optional. If you want to write the parameters, we can write. Otherwise, no parameters also correct. So the and body means open brace, closing brace. This is the method or function definition. Already explained so many times. This is the method definition. What is the syntax for method is, okay, return type, name of the method and followed by parenthesis. Here inside the parenthesis, parameters are optional. If you want to write the parameters, write. Otherwise, not required. This is method with no parameters with return type. Like that, not with return type, without return type. Because void means without return type. This function is not returning anything to the invocation function. Okay. So here there are four types of functions. Okay. What are the four types? Methods with return type with parameters. Next without return type without parameters. Next with return type without parameters. Next without return type and with parameters. These are the four ways we can write functions. So here this one is without return type and without parameters. Okay, without return type means void and without parameters means inside the parenthesis we have not taken any parameters. That's why this is the function, okay, that comes under without return type and without parameters. Like that we have four types of functions. Okay, next this is called function body. So this is the function definition. This is a normal method. In C language we use normal this type of methods, and in Java language also we can use this type of methods when you write a program. Okay, this type of method is called concrete method. Okay, now what are the important points to remember about concrete methods? Should have method body. See, this is the body. From this open brace to this closing brace, this part is called method body. Inside this body, we can write the functionality of that method. Okay, so should have method body and not declared with abstract keyword. In keywords, we have seen one keyword that is abstract. So abstract is a keyword. So if you observe, if you see this method, it is not declared with the abstract keyword. That's why this method is called concrete method. Okay. So again, I will repeat the properties of concrete methods. And for concrete methods should have method body, and concrete methods should not be declared with the abstract keyword. These are the two important points to remember about concrete methods. Okay. So this is called concrete method. This means name of the function is here M1. No? So here in this scenario or in this example, M1 is called concrete method. Why? Because it is having method body and this method is not declared with the abstract keyword. So based on these 2 points, we can say M1 is called, or we can say M1 is concrete method. Okay. Next, coming to the abstract methods. So abstract methods do not have method body and must be declared with the abstract keyword. And the third important point is ends with semicolon. So with these 3 points, we can write the abstract methods. Okay. Now I will show you the examples of abstract methods. See, this is again name of the method M1 and return type is void and no parameters. You know, this is the method syntax. After that, this method M1 is declared with the abstract keyword, and after that, this statement ends with the semicolon. So with these 3 points, we can identify the abstract methods. Okay. Now in this case, M1 is called abstract method. Next, in this case, M2 is called abstract method. Why? Because see, you know, here it is return type. Int is return type of this function M2. So here with return type and without parameters, and it is declared with abstract keyword and ends with semicolon, and there is no method body. Body means this part. Abstract methods should not have body like this, and they must be declared with abstract keyword and must end with semicolon. So with these 3 points, we can say whether the method is abstract method or not. Okay. Now I will discuss about these 2 methods in today's class. What are the 2 methods? Concrete methods and abstract methods. And this is the example for concrete method. In this example, M1 is called concrete method. Why? Because it is having method body and it is not declared with abstract keyword. But in this is here in this case, M1 and M2 are called abstract methods. Why? Because there is no method body for this one and declared with abstract keyword and ends with semicolon. Okay. So with these 3 points, we can understand the abstract method. Okay. Next we will see classes. Here methods are of 2 types, no? Concrete methods and abstract methods. Like that, classes are also of 2 types. In Java, we use classes, no, in each and every program. Again, that class can be concrete class or abstract class. Already I explained in the first class. What are the containers in Java? There are 3 containers in Java. They are classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. Okay, these are the 3 important types in Java we have. They are classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. Okay, till now we have completed classes concept. Okay, there are 3 containers in Java. They are classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. Till now we have completed the first one, that is classes. How do we write the Java programs? Using classes and objects. So we have completed classes concept. After that, the second point is abstract classes. Now we are discussing abstract classes. After completion of abstract classes, we will see interfaces. These 3 are very, very important in Java. Okay. So what are the 3 containers in Java? Classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. With respect to these 3 only, we will write Java programs. Okay. Till now we have written Java programs using classes. Now we are discussing about abstract classes. Okay. Now after discussing this one, abstract classes, we will discuss interfaces. So classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. These 3 are very, very important in Java. Once you understand these 3 concepts, then you can write any number of programs on your own using classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. Terminology is very, very important. Okay, so classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. You remember these 3. Okay, if you see any Java program, we can write with respect to these 3 only: classes, abstract classes, and interfaces. Okay. Now classes we have completed. Now we will discuss abstract classes. Okay. Now coming to classes, again there are 2 types of classes. They are concrete classes and abstract classes. Now we will see the difference between these two types of classes. Okay. First I will explain concrete classes. After that I will explain abstract classes. Okay. Now what is concrete class? So concrete class must contain, concrete class is nothing but normal classes only. Till now we have written programs using classes now. All those classes are called concrete classes. Okay. Now what is the difference between these two classes? In concrete classes, okay, concrete classes must contain only concrete methods and should not be declared with abstract keyword. Means that class should not be declared with abstract keyword. These are the 2 points, okay, with respect to concrete classes. So concrete classes must contain only concrete methods. You know how to write concrete methods now, already explained. So remember these 4 words: concrete methods, abstract methods, concrete classes and abstract classes. But there is no keyword like concrete, but abstract is a keyword. Okay, so we are saying concrete methods only, but there is no keyword, okay, for concrete. So here these are the concrete methods and these are the abstract methods. And now I will explain concrete classes and abstract classes with respect to concrete methods and abstract methods. Okay. Now already we understood the difference between concrete methods and abstract methods. Now you can easily identify whether the method is a concrete method or abstract method. So after identification of these 2 types of methods with respect to these 2 methods, I will explain the differences between concrete classes and abstract classes. Okay. Now coming to concrete classes should contain only concrete methods and should not be declared with the abstract keyword. Means that class should not be declared with the abstract keyword. So what is the example for concrete classes? Till now we have written only concrete classes. All the classes, okay, till now we have written so many programs now using classes. All those classes are called concrete classes. There is no keyword concrete. Now this is the concrete class. How to identify whether it is a concrete class or not is using these 2 points. First point is concrete class, means here A is a class. So concrete class should not contain the abstract methods, or the other way is concrete class must contain only concrete methods and that class should not be declared with abstract keyword. So in this case we can say the class A is called concrete class. So this is called concrete class. Why? Because here the class A contains only concrete methods and the class A is not declared with abstract keyword. That's why it is called concrete class. Okay. And now coming to the abstract class. The abstract class is very, very important. Okay. Now understand carefully these abstract classes. So abstract classes may contain only concrete methods or only abstract methods or the combination of concrete and abstract methods. Here if you observe the difference between these two, here concrete classes must contain only concrete methods, that's it. But whereas abstract classes may contain only concrete methods or only abstract methods or both concrete and abstract methods. Okay. Now that's why here I have written only concrete methods or only abstract methods or both. Okay. Next, what is the next point is, and the class must be declared with abstract keyword. Okay. Then in this case the class is called abstract class. Okay. Now here the class must be declared with abstract keyword. Here if you see, the class should not be declared with abstract keyword and it must contain only concrete methods. But if you see this abstract class, it may contain only concrete methods, only abstract methods, or both concrete and abstract methods. And one more point to remember is the class must be declared with abstract keyword. Then in this case the class is called abstract class. I will show you the examples, because 3 ways we can write the abstract classes now. Abstract class may contain only concrete methods Okay, that take one example on this case. And abstract class may contain only abstract methods. We will write one example on this. And abstract class may contain both concrete and abstract methods. That's why there are three ways to write abstract methods, but there is only one way to write the concrete class. This is the only one way to write the concrete class, but there are three ways to write the abstract classes. Okay, I will show you three examples. Here, first, abstract. This is abstract class. Why? Because this class A is declared with abstract keyword. That's why this class is called abstract class, and it may contain only concrete methods. See, you can understand it is a concrete method. Why? Because method body is there, and this method is not declared with abstract keyword. So here, this is the example for this first one. That is, abstract classes may contain only concrete methods. So this is called abstract class, which contains only concrete methods. Like this here, I have written only one concrete method now. Like that, inside this abstract class, you can write any number of concrete methods. Okay, so this is the example for abstract class, because here A is a class, class A. Previously, we have written class A, class name, and this class is declared with abstract keyword. That's why this class is called abstract class. Again, inside abstract class, we can write only concrete methods, or only abstract methods, or both concrete and abstract methods. So this is the abstract class, which consists of only concrete methods. Okay. Next, I will show you the examples for these two later. Next, we will see the other points about abstract classes. Next, abstract classes must be extended. In inheritance only, you will get the concept of abstract class, because when you write the class, that is, when you write an abstract class, it must be extended. Means we have to use inheritance. Means we have to take a subclass which extends this abstract class. That is must. Why, I will explain the reason later. Now try to understand. When you write the abstract class, compulsory that abstract class must be extended by at least one subclass. Means what you can understand is, in inheritance only you will get the concept of abstract classes, but concrete classes without inheritance also we can explain, because this class A, okay, need not be extended by subclass. Only with single class also I can write the program now. Or this class may or may not be extended. Okay. Suppose if you want to write class B extends here, that is also correct. But inheritance is not compulsory required in case of concrete classes. With single concrete class also I can write so many programs. And with inheritance also I can explain concrete classes. But means what you can understand regarding concrete classes is, with or without inheritance, we can explain the concept of concrete classes. But whereas the abstract classes must be explained with inheritance only. Without inheritance, there is no concept of abstract classes. That's why the reason is abstract classes must be extended. I will explain the reason later. Now remember, abstract classes must be extended. Means subclasses must be required to extend this abstract class. Okay. Next, after that, the next point is, there must be, yes, at least one subclass. See, there must be at least one subclass which extends the abstract class. This is must. At least one means, greater than or equal to one, no? Now I will show you the example. So this class is abstract class, because this class is declared with abstract keyword. Next, any number of subclasses can extend this abstract class. That's why here I have taken class B extends A, class C extends A, class D extends A. Okay, so the abstract classes can be extended by any number of subclasses. This is another point. Okay. Next, this is single level inheritance only. Already explained single level inheritance when we discussed the types of inheritances. It is called simply single level inheritance. Next, A class which extends the abstract class must provide implementation to all the abstract methods of that abstract class. This is important point. So here B is the subclass of A. No? So what is the role of this subclass B? Is it has to provide the implementations to all the abstract methods of the abstract class. Because inside abstract class we can write abstract methods. Abstract methods ends with semicolon. Method body is not there for abstract methods. But who will implement that abstract method is the subclass which extends that abstract class must provide the implementations to all the abstract methods of that abstract class. Okay. With examples I will explain later. Now try to understand the concept of abstract class. So a class which extends the abstract class must provide implementation to all the okay, this statement is very, very important. So a class which extends the abstract class must provide implementation. Implementation is body. Must provide implementation to all the abstract methods of that abstract class. Suppose in the abstract class, suppose if you have two abstract methods, then here B, the class B extends, So what is the role of class B? It has to provide the implementation to the two abstract methods of this abstract class. That's why all the abstract methods of that abstract class. Okay. Now here, this example is here we have one abstract class A, and it consists of three abstract methods. Now here B, C, D are the subclasses of this abstract class A. So inside B, we have to provide implementation to all the three abstract methods of this abstract class. Okay. So inside B, we have to provide the implementation to all the three abstract methods. And inside C also, we need to provide the implementation to all the three abstract methods of this class A. Inside D also, we need to provide the implementation to all the three abstract methods of this abstract class A. Okay. With the examples, I will explain. Now understand the points. Next, here I have written A is an abstract class which contains three abstract methods. No? So B has to provide three implementation to all the three concrete methods like that C and D also. Next after that, suppose here my question is here what is this one? A class which extends the abstract class must provide implementation to all the abstract methods of that abstract class. No? Suppose if the class which extends that abstract class doesn't want to provide the implementation to all the abstract methods, in that case what we have to do is we have to declare the subclass as abstract method if it doesn't want to provide the implementation to all the abstract methods of the abstract class. That is this one. So here this is the point. If the subclass doesn't want to implement all the abstract methods of the abstract class, then declare the subclass as abstract, and there must be a subclass which extends that abstract class. Means you have to go for multi-level inheritance. Okay. So here I will explain. So let us assume that only three classes are there. A, multi-level inheritance. Type of inheritance is multi-level inheritance. I will explain with these three classes. So A is one class, B is a subclass to A, and C is a subclass to B. Now I have the class A, that is abstract class A. Inside this, assume that three abstract methods are there. But the subclass B wants to provide implementation to only two abstract methods of class A, and it doesn't want to provide implementation to one abstract method of that class A. So in that case, what we have to do is again declare this class B as abstract. Okay, abstract class B. Okay, and provide inside class B, and abstract class B extends A, because inheritance, no? B extends A. So inside class B, I am providing implementation to only two abstract methods of A, and I am not providing implementation to one abstract method. That's why in that case, the class has to be declared as abstract. Means abstract class B extends A. So in B again we have one abstract method, because abstract method of class A is inherited as it is to class B as abstract only. Means here inside class B I have again one abstract method. And this class is abstract class. Again abstract classes must be extended now. So who will extend this abstract class B is, there must be one more subclass which extends this abstract class, that is C. So what is the role of class C is, inside class C, I will provide implementation to one abstract method of class B. Means the class C is providing the implementation to one abstract method of class B. So here actually three abstract methods, but class B is giving only implementation to two abstract methods, and class C is giving the implementation to one abstract method. Like that, we have implemented all the three abstract methods of class A. Inside class B, two methods are implemented, and inside class C, one method is implemented. Like that, anyway, with this multi-level inheritance, I have implemented all the three abstract methods of this class A. Inside class B, two methods, and inside class C, one method. And if you see the last level class, it must be concrete class. Okay, this concept can be extended with this multi-level inheritance. So if you take inside A 10 abstract methods, B will implement only some abstract methods and will not implement some abstract methods. That's why B is declared as abstract. Again, C is the class which extends B. Again, in C also, I will implement some methods. I will not implement all the methods of this B. Then again declare this class as B. Like that, again declare this class as B. This E class as, this class also, E is also declared as abstract. But finally in the last level, there must be one concrete class which extends this abstract class. Okay, here 10 abstract methods are there. Only here I am implementing two, here I am implementing two, here I am implementing two, and here I am implementing one only. Means one is left now. That one is implemented in this class. That's in this case, all these classes A to E must be declared as abstract. But see, all these are abstract. No, A is abstract, B is abstract, C is abstract, D is abstract, and E is abstract. But finally, there must be one concrete class in the last level. It is must. Okay. So like that, we can take the multi-level inheritance in case of abstract classes. Here, if you observe, all the classes A to E are abstract classes, and F is concrete class. Okay. The rule is that there must be one concrete class in the last level. Okay. So this is the 6th point. Next, what is the 7th point is, this is also very, very important. For abstract classes, we cannot create objects. Okay, this is one more important point. For concrete classes, we can create objects now. Till now, we have considered only concrete classes. I have taken class student, that is called concrete class. For that student class, I have created objects by taking student S1 is equal to new student. Okay, like that, we can't create objects for abstract classes. So for abstract classes, we cannot create objects, but what we can do is, we can only create reference variables. Now you can understand the difference between reference variable and object. When you create an object, right hand side total part is called object, that is new student, and student S1, left hand side S1 is called reference variable, which holds the address of that object. That's why reference variable means S1. New student is object. Okay, new means object is created, memory is allocated for that object. So new student is object now. So for concrete classes, we can create objects, but for abstract classes, we cannot create objects. We can only create reference variables. Means only left hand side is possible. That is student S1 only we can write. If you declare the student class as abstract, but we can't write is equal to new student for abstract classes. Okay. Now here I will show you the example. This is abstract class A. Okay, this is one abstract class A. Now for this class A, I can't create object. because this class is declared with abstract keyword. So for abstract classes, we can't create objects. We can only create reference variable. No? So how do I create the reference variable for this abstract class? A is AA1. That's it. Understand carefully. If you understand this concept, programs are easy. Now we can create only reference variables for abstract classes. That is AA1. Only left hand side part only we can write in object creation. So A1 means A1 is a reference variable which is of this type A. Okay, this is possible. Which is not possible with respect to abstract classes is this is not possible. It means A1 is equal to new A. Means right hand side is object. No? So for abstract classes we cannot create objects using new operator. That's why if you write like this, you will get error. Compiler error. Syntactically it is wrong because the reason is that for abstract classes we can't create objects, we can only create reference variables. That's why this is correct statement, this is wrong statement. Understand, this is very very important. Now here you may get one doubt. So without creating objects for abstract classes, how do we access the members of the abstract classes? Finally our aim is to access the members of the class, no, using objects. But here I am saying we can't create objects for abstract classes. Without creating objects for that abstract class, how do we access the members of that abstract class? This is my question. So the answer for this question is a class which extends this abstract class, okay, must provide implementation to all the abstract methods of that abstract class. No? For that subclass, we can create objects, and through that subclass object, we can access the members of the abstract class. Because abstract classes must be extended. Why abstract classes must be extended? The reason is that for abstract classes, we can't create objects. We can only create reference variables. But how do we access the members of the abstract class is by creating the object for the subclass which extends the abstract class. Through that subclass object, I can access the members of the abstract class. You know inheritance, no? Through subclass object, we can access the members of the superclass, no? Okay, that's why in inheritance only we can discuss abstract classes. Okay. Now, next concept is how do we access the members of the abstract class is using upcasting. Now we can create the object for subclass which extends that abstract class, and I will create object for that subclass, and by assigning that subclass object to superclass reference variable, that is nothing but upcasting. Last class I explained upcasting. Where we use this upcasting concept is in abstract classes and in interfaces. Okay, so we use upcasting concept in abstract classes and in interfaces. So how do we use upcasting? I will explain. Okay. So now using upcasting, we can access the members of the abstract classes. You know, upcasting is nothing but subclass object is assigned to superclass reference variable. Here superclass is the abstract class, and for superclass we can create only reference variables. But we can assign the subclass object to that superclass reference variable. That is nothing but upcasting. Last class I explained in depth about upcasting. So here I will explain the concept. Next, what is the advantage of abstract method? This we will see in program. How do we access the members of the abstract class using upcasting? I will explain with programs. Okay. Now coming to the next point. What is the advantage of taking abstract methods? Okay. Now advantage of abstract method over concrete methods is once you define the abstract class in abstract method in abstract class. Okay. I will explain with this example. So here in this abstract class, I will define one abstract method. You know, in abstract method means there is no method body and must end with semicolon. Who will provide the implementation to that abstract method is all these three classes. So what is the advantage of writing abstract method in abstract class is here we are giving only this one, the method name. Okay, but for that method, these three classes will provide implementation in their own way. That's why abstract methods will provide more shareability when compared to concrete methods. So abstract methods do not have method body, no. Who will provide that implementation part? All these three subclasses, no. So inside subclass B, it can provide the implementation for this abstract method in its own way. Like that, class C and class B can also provide the implementations of that abstract method in their own way. Okay, if you write concrete method here, already we are giving method body, no. So if this class wants to override that method, it can override. Otherwise, it will take the same implementation in all the three classes, no. That is the drawback of concrete method. If you want to apply overriding, we can apply overriding in these subclasses. Otherwise, the same body of this concrete method will be used by all these three classes, no. But when you write abstract method, that method must be given implementation in each of these three classes. That's why abstract methods will provide more shareability when compared to concrete methods. This is the last concept. Means one structure can be used by many classes. All the subclasses will use the same structure of the abstract method and will provide the implementation in their own way. So all these are the points regarding abstract methods and abstract classes. Okay. Now we will see the programs on abstract classes. Okay. Now here I will explain upcasting. So how do I write the two programs I will write? One is using single level inheritance, another one is using multi-level inheritance. You can understand now it is easily. And you know upcasting concept also. Here we will use only upcasting, that's it. That's why upcasting is very, very important in abstract classes and interfaces. Okay. Now this scenario I will take. This is single level inheritance, class A and class B. Here I have three methods in class A. First write the structure like this whenever you want to write inheritance programs. Only with respect to inheritance I can explain abstract classes. That's why I can take either single level inheritance or multi-level inheritance. Okay. Now here I have two classes A and B, and the class A is declared with abstract. That's why this is abstract class and B is concrete class. Okay, this concrete class must extend this abstract class. Okay, and now here I will explain the methods of this abstract class. So already explained the abstract class may contain both concrete methods and abstract methods. Here I have taken one concrete method and two abstract methods in abstract class A, and this is concrete class B, which extends this class A. So inside this class B, I need to give I must provide the implementation to all the abstract methods of class A. That's why here these two methods are given implementation in the subclass, that is B. So inside the subclass, I have provided the implementation to M2 and M3. Implementation is body. Okay, next. And B can write in its own method. No? This is only inheritance concept. Okay, B can access all the members of class A and B can write in its own members. That is M4 is the own member to class A and M1, M2 and M3 are the inherited members. But for these two abstract methods, the class B must provide implementation. If you understand this concept, now we can, with that we can write the program. So here, write first abstract class A. So class A, and this class is declared with abstract keyword, and inside that I am writing one concrete method and two abstract methods. So concrete method means we need to give body. Inside that body I am writing only it is A's M1 method. Okay, next. These two are the abstract methods because they are declared with abstract keyword and name no method body and should ends with the semicolon. That's why here in this class A we have one concrete method and two abstract methods. And one more point is suppose if there is at least one abstract method in any class, then in that case the class must be declared as abstract. What is this point? If there is at least one abstract method in any class, then that class must be declared as abstract. Here if you see this class A, here we have two abstract methods. In this case, this class must be declared with abstract. If you want to declare abstract, if you want to declare this class as abstract, then compiler error you will get. You try in the lab. So again, I am repeating the same statement. A class which contains at least one abstract method must be declared as abstract. Otherwise, we will get error, compiler error. Okay, understand this point. And now we have completed writing this abstract class A. After that, we will write class B. So here B extends A, no? And this is a concrete class. So class B extends A. What is the concept of abstract class? So it is extending abstract class now. That's why this class must provide implementation to all the abstract methods of the superclass. Okay. So here B must provide the implementation to all the abstract methods of the superclass. So here in superclass we have two abstract methods now. That's why we will see the class B. So it is providing the implementation for both these two methods. That's why this is the implementation for M2 and this is the implementation for M3. Here I am writing which class method it is, BSEM2 and BSEM3. After that I am writing one own method to class B, that is M4. So this is the program on abstract classes in case of single level inheritance. Okay, this one abstract class and one concrete class which extends that abstract class. And the role of this concrete class or subclass is it has to provide the implementation to all the abstract methods of its superclass, which is abstract class. That's why here this class is providing the implementation to both the abstract methods of class A, that is M2 and M3. Next, this is the own method of class B. Now I will explain upcasting concept. Because for abstract classes, we can't create objects. Here, which class is abstract? This class A is abstract. Okay. So for the abstract classes, we can't create objects. Means for this class A, we can't create object. Okay. So what we have to do? We can only create reference variable. Okay. Now with reference variables, we can't access the members of this class. Only object is required to access the members of this class. But for abstract class, we can only create reference variable. No? That's why I am using upcasting concept. Okay, for abstract class, we will create reference variable and a class which extends that abstract class. For this class, we will create object and I will use upcasting. That is, subclass object is assigned to superclass reference variable. So with respect to these two classes, I am using upcasting concept. Okay. Now now here the question is, for abstract classes, we can't create objects. That's why we can't access the members of the class directly. But how do we access the members of this class? Is by creating subclass object and that subclass object is assigned to superclass reference variable. So by applying upcasting concept, we can access the members of the abstract class without creating objects. Okay. Now I will explain that concept in one more class. Same way, take one more class and write main method. Okay. Next. Now here I am using upcasting. See, the A is abstract class. For abstract classes, we can only create reference variables. We can't create objects. Means if you write A1 is equal to new A, you will get compiler error. Okay, but how do we access the members of the abstract class is by using this concept, that is upcasting. Upcasting means subclass object. This is, new B is subclass object. It is assigned to superclass reference variable. So for abstract classes, we can only create reference variables and it is assigned with the subclass object. So this syntax is perfectly correct. Now I already explained upcasting. No? So using this reference variable, we can access all the members of the superclass except overridden methods. Last class I explained one program for upcasting. So same concept I am applying here. So with this reference variable, okay, I can access all the members of the superclass. What are the members which are there in the superclass? M1, M2, M3. only these three members can be accessed using the reference variable A1. Okay, but except overridden methods now. So in case of overridden method, here it is, I think there is no overridden method. No? So this method M1 is not overridden in its subclass. No? See here we have not written M1. That's why what we can access with the A1 is we can access A's M1 and all the members now and M2, M3 also we can access, but B's M2 and B's M3 we can access. Okay, so here with that reference variable we can access all the members of the superclass. So what are the members of the superclass? M1, M2, M3. So M1 is not overridden, but here you can think like this: M2 and M3 are the overridden methods because the same for the same structure it is providing body. You know, we can assume like that it is overridden in its subclass. That's why what is the rule for upcasting? Okay, because upcasting is nothing but subclass object is assigned to superclass reference variable. With that reference variable, we can access all the members of the superclass except overridden methods. So this ASM1 is executed because it is not overridden method, but these two are overridden methods because the implementation is there in its subclass. That's why. So when you access the members M1, M2, M3, what is the output? So with this reference variable, I can access all the three members of the superclass. That is M1, M2, M3. So A1 dot M1 correct because M1 is there in class A. A1 dot M2 is also correct because M2 is there in A. And A1 dot M3 is also correct because M3 is there in A. So inside A we have three methods M1, M2, M3. That's why with this subcasting variable A1, I can access all the members of the superclass except overridden methods. So what will be the output is this is ASM1, this is BSM2, and this is BSM3. That is the output you will get. Next, if you access M4 method of class B with A1, it is not possible. Why? Because with upcasting, what is the rule? We can access only the members of the superclass except overridden methods. In case of overridden methods of the superclass, the subclass overriding methods will be executed. That's why M2, M3 are called overridden methods in class A. That's why subclass overriding methods will be executed in case of M2 and M3. So that's why the output is it is ASM1 method, it is BSM2 method, it is also BSM2 method. But if you want to access M4 method of class B, A1 dot M4, it is not possible. The rule is that with this reference variable, we can access all the members of the superclass. Only the members of the superclass can be accessed with A1. But M4 is not the member of the superclass. That's why M4 cannot be accessed with this A1. If you access like this, you will get compiler error. So this is also important point here. And try to understand upcasting because we use upcasting in both the abstract classes and interfaces. Unless you understand upcasting concept, you can't follow the abstract classes and interfaces programs. Because for abstract classes and interfaces, we can't create objects, we can only create reference variable. But how do we access the members of the abstract classes and interfaces is through upcasting. Okay, that's why this concept try to understand carefully. After that, this is normal only. Here nothing is there. This is like inheritance. We can create subclass object now. B1 is equal to new B. It is subclass object. So with subclass object, we can access all the members of the superclass and subclass. That's why I can access with B1 because it is subclass reference variable. M1 I can access, M2 I can access, M3 and I can access, M4 also I can access. With the P1, M4 I can access. But with this A1 upcasting, I can't access the subclass member. I can access only all the members of the superclass. Okay. Next, after that, if you want to access all the members of superclass and subclass through subclass object, it is possible. So what is the output? ASM1 method, BSM2 method, BSM3 method, BSM4 method. That will be the output. for this one. Okay. So with this we have completed one program on abstract class using single level inheritance and using this scenario. Okay. Next class we will see. We will write one more program using abstract class with multi-level inheritance. Already explained. No? I will explain only this scenario. Full program next class I will explain. Here why multi-level inheritance is required is I have taken one abstract class A, and inside that class A I have taken one concrete method and two abstract methods. See, already explained abstract class may contain only concrete methods, only abstract methods, or both concrete and abstract methods. That's why inside the abstract class here I have taken one concrete method and two abstract methods. Next B is the subclass which extends this abstract class. Already explained what is the role of B is. Inside class B we must give implementation to all the abstract methods of the class A. But the subclass B doesn't want to give implementation to all the abstract methods of its superclass. So that's why here what it will do is it will provide implementation to only one abstract method out of these two abstract methods. What is that abstract method? M2. So for M2 it is giving implementation, but for M3 it is not giving implementation. Means this abstract method will be inherited as it is like abstract only. Means inside class B, two concrete methods are there. They are M2 and M4, and one abstract method is there, that is M3. Already explained one concept. If any class which contains at least one abstract method must be declared as abstract. So based on that point, this class must be declared as abstract. See, I will repeat once again. So if inside we are in any class, if there is at least one abstract method, then that class must be declared as abstract. Otherwise, compiler error you will get. So here, if you observe the class B, it consists of one abstract method, that is M3. Because of this abstract method, okay, this class B must be declared as abstract. That's why here the class B is also abstract. And inside the class B, we have one abstract method. Again, somebody should provide implementation to this abstract method of this abstract class. Now, who will provide implementation to this abstract method is, again, you have to take one subclass which extends that abstract class. That's why in rules already explained, abstract classes must be extended. Otherwise, there is no use of abstract classes. So that's why you have to take one more class which extends this abstract class. Now inside C, what I will do is I will provide implementation for this abstract method of class B. That's why here I have provided implementation to M3 method inside class C, and your own member is M5. So if you take class C, it consists of only concrete methods. That's why this class need not be declared with abstract class. When we declare the class as abstract class is, if any class which contains at least one abstract method must be declared as abstract. If you see here, we have two abstract methods. That's why this class must be declared as abstract. And here, if you see class B, it consists of one abstract method, that is M3. That's why this class must be declared as abstract. If you see this class C, it does not contain any abstract method. It consists of only concrete methods. That's why class C need not be declared with abstract keyword. But how do I access the members of class A and class B? Because both the classes are abstract classes, and we know that for abstract classes we can't create objects. We can only create reference variables for these two classes A and B. But how do I access the members of classes A and B? Is by using upcasting. That is, we will create object for this concrete class, and that subclass object is assigned to superclass reference variable, that is for B, and that subclass object is also be assigned to this class A. Okay, so this is one upcasting we can use, that is B1 is equal to new C, and one more upcasting is A1 is equal to new C. Okay, by using upcasting, we can access the members of both classes A and B with this class C object. So we will see the complete program in the next class. So with this, we have completed abstract classes.